there, and welcome to the Reflection Show with me, Martha Inspires. Before we delve into today's conversation, I just want to use this opportunity to say a very, very big thank you to all the young people that made it to this year's Youth Empowerment Summit on Saturday, August 16th. It was great. It was a very rainy day, but you still turned up for us. Thank you so much to all our friends, to all our partners, to every one of you that made it a point to attend. Now, we all know that young people is the heart or are the heart of the world. Let me come and talk more about Ghana in Northern Region and in Tamale. There is so much happening in the area of youth development. And there is this organization that is making sure that every young person is empowered, is able to build their potential. Today, I'll be having a conversation with young people from NORSAC under the Power to Youth program that has been running for 5 good years. Unfortunately, the program is coming to an end this year, 2025. So we'll have a conversation to delve into the highlights and also to know all that they have been doing under the Power to Youth program. Stay tuned. Amazing guests, amazing conversations. You can't miss this. I am Martha Inspires. Welcome back from the break. I have here two amazing young people, a lady and a gentleman who work at the Power to Youth program. 5 years of empowering young people, amplifying the voices of young people. And I like the name, Power to Youth. It means that they give the power to all of us, to all the young people, to make sure that whatever decisions that we want to make, we are able to make those decisions. So welcome, and thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let me start, ladies first. Tell us your name and then what you do under the Power to Youth program.
Thank you very much, and I just want to say hi to our viewers. My name is Halima Tusadia Al Hassan. I work with NORSAC as the Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer. And on Power to Youth program, I lead the Ghana's Planning, Monitoring, Evaluation and Research Technical Working Group on the Power to Youth program.
Hi, big woman. Look at all the titles she mentioned. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm the person of Mohammed Shamsuddin Ibrahim, and I'm a volunteer at the Power to Youth and also the youth presiding member of the Youth Assembly. I think the Youth Assembly was a pilot project by Power to Youth
program.
But now we are a youth group and I'm the presiding member there. Yeah.
Okay. So you see the positions they are mentioning. You see, it just goes to tell you that actually the power has been given to young people to occupy very vital positions. Maybe one day we'll have a president of Ghana who is like 30 or 35 years old. But I hope it doesn't keep so long so that I can occupy that position. Anyways. August is the month for young people. We see organizations like the Ministry for Youth Empowerment and Development, the National Youth Authority, CSOs, and so many organizations doing something for young people. Now, let me start with you, Sham. What is your perspective about the Youth Month, the International, Youth Day, that mostly we do so much, and general overview on the PTY program and what you do during the Youth Month?
Yes, the Youth Month is very crucial to the celebration of youth. So particularly in person, I always say that every day is for the youth. But then for us to get a day to celebrate ourselves, we chose 12 August, which we use to celebrate ourselves. So it's very crucial because people need to see what the youth have been doing in order to bring about development. You see, this year, the youth day is particularly about the SDGs. And youth are very crucial in driving change or development. So if you need to build your development, or if you need your development to strive, the youth had to come in because according to my research, I know that about 1.8 billion of the world population is youth. Meaning, if you want anything to strive, as far as development is concerned, the youth has to come in. So they selected this because the SDG is fast approaching. I mean, like 5 years
Yeah.
from now, yeah. So it's
By
fast approaching.
2030.
Yes, and if they want it to develop well, then the youth have to come in because we have the energy, we have the power. That has to do the power empowerment we've been getting from ourselves and other organizations we've been working with. So I see that is very crucial. And then I think in connecting it with the theme is very crucial because you see every day or every time we say that the youth needs to be empowered.
Yeah.
So if this comes into connection with the youth celebration and also the SDGs, we are already empowered. We need more empowerment.
Yeah.
So if we have that empowerment, we'll be able to drive this change in order to reach 2030 to get the goals we needed.
Okay.
Yes.
Halima, let's look at the overview of the Power to Youth program. Somebody watching us for the very first time or have just slightly heard about PTY. Introduce the Power to Youth program to us.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Martha. The Power to Youth program is actually a 5-year program which has been running since 2021, and like you mentioned earlier, would be ending this year, 2025. The program is funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs and is a global program implemented by 7 countries, so Ghana, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Malawi, Kenya, and Senegal are all parts of the countries implementing the Power to Youth program. And at the country level, the program is, at the global level, the program is led by AMREF Netherlands and also in collaboration with Rutgers and then Sonke Gender Justice. And at the country level, the program is led by NORSAC and then in collaboration with Songtaba and Ghana SRHL Alliance for Young People. The main goal of the program is to empower young people, especially adolescent girls and young women in underserved communities, to amplify their voices, to be able to make informed choices about their sexuality, and also live in a society free from inequalities. And to achieve, this is a very big goal. So in order to achieve the goal, the program has been broken down on 4 pillars, which we call pathways. So the first one is looking at how can we amplify, how can we empower the young people, build their agencies, build their capacities around the key issues to be able to hold state and societal actors accountable and responsive to their mandate. So everything we do under the pillar is about the young people, empowering them, building their agencies, giving them capacities to be able to hold state and societal actors accountable to their mandate. Then the second one is looking at CSOs. We know that CSOs play a very crucial role in the development of the country, especially advocating for policies. So we were saying that the program is saying that whilst we are trying to hold government and societal actors responsible to their mandates, in including young people in decision making, the CSO should demonstrate that themselves. So the second pillar is looking at how CSOs can amplify the voices of young people and include them in decision making platforms. The third one is looking at the societal actors, because before we are young people, we belong to societies. So we are looking at how can we get societal actors to recognize the rights of young people and include them in decision making at the societal level. Then the last one is looking at how can we get state actors to improve policy making, especially policies that has to do with the program's key issues, which are sexual and gender-based violence, harmful practices such as KIA, female genital mutilation, exchange and child marriages, and then harmful practices. So basically, this is the Power to Youth program. We have been implementing in 5 regions: Northern region, Upper East region, Savannah region, and Northeast region. And the last one, Greater Accra, which is mainly for policy influencing.
Okay.
And then 10 districts, 40 communities.
Oh, 40 communities.
Yes.
So you've been able to go through all these communities for almost 5 years.
In fact, we started with 40 communities, but as at final year, if you want to mention the number of communities we have impacted, it's more than 40 communities.
Yeah, because some of the communities may actually be very close.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, a follow-up question. Let's also look at, you have also dealt with more young people coming in. Let's look at the impacts before I delve into more. What are some of the impacts you have seen that young people have experienced or just randomly even shared with you?
Yes, so like I mentioned, there are 4 pillars. So if you're looking at the first pillar, so from the beginning of the program, what we did was to build the capacities of young people, first of all, on the 3 key issues, sexual and gender-based violence. Because if you want young people to speak out for themselves, they should see the need to do that. They should understand these key issues. They should even understand why they should be included in decision-making platform. So roughly, we have engaged like 40 young people in the 40 communities,
Okay.
build their capacities around the key issues, build their capacities around lobbying and advocacy, community mobilization, community engagement. We have also supported some of these young people with funds, which we call the Youth Initiative Small Grants, to take up youth-led advocacies at the community level. So what we did was, aside the funds where they would go into the community, we already built their capacities around proposal writings. In the event that the program ends, they can actually source for funding for themselves. So on the part of the youth, this is what we have done. We have also created platforms for them to engage both nationally and internationally. So we've had young people representing the country at national level events or global level events where, they connect, they network, they build their capacities, they get exposure, and then they come back. Then at the national level, so we've had them participating in policy conversations where they are able to introduce. So beyond what that is doing for the program, it's also equipping the young people, with the right resources, the right capacities to engage even beyond the program. So at that level, that is what we have done. So what the other young people to have gotten is the representation they've had in decision-making platforms. So in some of our community, or in most of our communities, the traditional leaders have actually included these young people in decision-making and are taking them as, equal partners in decision-making. And I think these are some of the impacts. When it comes to some other personal people like me, beyond building my capacity, I think it has also equipped me with employability skills, because like Sham, I also joined the program as a volunteer, and now I am working as a staff in NORSAC. And I think the program, just the impact goes beyond just the knowledge, the capacity, to employability skills for other young people who have received these capacities, and the development of other youth groups as well.
Okay, Sham, you have spoken more on the SDGs,
Yes.
but SDGs are like it's very big.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's like a global target. Everybody. So let's look at what PTY is doing in trying to, first of all, even let young people understand the SDGs, what the SDGs are, what are they also doing to set real targets in our small way to make sure that young people can, collectively solve a little issue in their community or play a role in their community, so that at the end of the day, that global target will be met.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. You see, this SDGs, they are very important. And as I mentioned earlier, we the youth have to drive it to have that change we want. PTY, as Halima mentioned earlier, has something called the YISC, which most of the programs under it tackle issues around gender equality and trying to reduce inequalities. With this, you can see, gender equality is the number 5 on the goals, and the inequality is also number 10. So in having these small programs, I can remember I had an opportunity to represent Activista Ghana in Myeong, where we're talking about trying to include masculine or males in the fight of sexual and reproductive health rights. So in this kind of situation, you can see that mostly in our rural communities, the males are not really involved, because most of them feel like they are not directly affected. So they don't put up their best in trying to fight these SRHR issues. So if, PTY has given the power to the youth to go into the communities, do a project about it, trying to let the males understand that masculinity is not just about sitting and trying to say that I'm a man, but it's trying to gather everything and also support those in the communities in order to have a sustainable and also a fast-moving community. So we went into the community, we spoke to them, we tried to get a committee called the Champions, trying to fight this issue. So at the end of the day, what will happen? It will have to contribute to the fact that we are trying to erase the inequalities, which is part of the goals. So in the long run, you can see that it's contributing small to try to, I mean, get to that goal of trying to resolve the inequalities. And also, as part of that, we have quality education. As you mentioned, we have the Power to You have empowered a lot of youth. I'm not an exemption. I'm someone who they've really helped me a lot. As part of the youth assembly, I'm someone who is now very closer to the Tamale Metro Assembly. I can in any time call the PM and meet him up to just discuss something with him. This one is about, it's not really about the formal education, but it has given me some power in terms of education. That one is contributing to the quality education we are talking about, you see. So you can see that with all this, as she mentioned, she was a volunteer. NOSAC built her capacity. She became a staff. Now she's earning. So trying to come into zero poverty or trying to erase hunger because there's something she's holding up to at the end of the day. So at the end, you can see that everything Power to Youth is doing is having something to do with building to
The
try
capacity
to
of young people.
in order to reach the goals of the SDGs at the end of the day. Yes.
Okay. And they mentioned something about YISC, and that is the Youth Initiative Small Grant. And Martha Inspires Foundation was privileged, I think, in 2023. Was that the first?
No.
Or I think
So I
maybe
think they
second.
started
Yeah,
in
no, yeah,
2022.
22. Yes. So we were privileged. So what they do is that they identify other youth-led organizations to give them some grants to also implement other activities. So I'm just bringing this in for people to understand that beyond the 40 communities that you are doing directly, you also have a lot of indirect reach based on the communities and the things that, you know, beneficiaries of YISC also did. Now let's look at the SDGs. What is or what are the main points of the SDGs that Power to Youth is really focused on its young people? Halima.
Yes, so I think Sham already highlighted a bit of that. I think when we take gender equality, the main focus of the program is to empower adolescent girls and young women. And I think one main milestone we can achieve when we want to talk about gender equality is ensuring that girls, the adolescent girls and the young women are empowered, you know, to own the space. Because if we lose out on their empowerment, even if we create space for them, they will not be able to, you know, utilize it effectively. Currently, Ghana has, I think last year, they passed the Affirmative Action Law. Yet we haven't really seen that 30% representatives. And then if you ask, sometimes they are saying it's not just about bringing women, it's about bringing people who can do the job. How do we get them to do the job? It's through the empowerment, you know, at the early stages. And that is what PTY does, you know, at the community level, empowering adolescent girls and young women, empowering their parents, you know, to include them in decision making. We think that most of the reasons why sometimes we sometimes feel, you know, shy, timid to take up these spaces is because of the social norms, how we were brought up. You know, there are still communities where women are not allowed to speak, especially in the presence of men. You have to pass your information to someone else to represent you. And what PTY is doing around that is the family is the basic unit of decision making. So we target the families first with the strategy we call the model gender households, where we are encouraging parents to include the children and their wives in decision making, especially decisions that affect the children. And so this is how we get the parents, you know, to start including the young people or the children in decision making at the household level. Then when we come to the community level, we look at traditional leaders. How do they, from the household level, how do we bring these young people and these adolescent girls and young women in the decision making at the community level? And I think this is how we carry out our empowerment, aside the program itself bringing the young people to build their capacities on, you know, lobbying and advocacy on these key things. So when it comes to women empowerment, gender equality, this is how we do it. Then we also have good health and well-being, that is SDG 3, right? And with that, we look at it from menstrual hygiene perspective. How do we ensure that these young girls are, you know, in their when it comes to their health, they are in the right state to even, you know, contribute to quality education with girls staying in school. And what we have done, especially with the passage of the luxury tax on sanitary pads, which makes sanitary pads very expensive for young girls to afford, you know, subsequently leading to them staying out of school, especially during their period. What we have done was to collaborate with the CSO platforms on SDGs I think it is a platform that NORSAC itself is a part of. So we belong to different committees on the CSO platform on SDGs. So we carried out lots of advocacies, especially both at regional level and national level. And I think it was as a result of one of these collaborative advocacies that led the Parliament, the Speaker of the Parliament, to actually describe it as a cardinal sin. And we think it also had an effect on, the government last year taking away the taxes on especially locally produced sanitary pads. So I think these are some of the campaigns we have done on SDG 3, SDG 5 as well. Yeah.
A follow-up, let's look at the traditional leaders. Let me come to Sham on that. How has the partnerships with them been when it comes to, they already have their beliefs. They have
Yes.
things that they're already doing. You just can't
Yes.
walk to them and say that, let's stop what you are doing. How has the partnership been, and how has the impact been now? What is happening from before and after?
Yes, so this, as you rightly mentioned, it's very hard to change especially when we have the indigenous minds that we have the previous generations they had. They are old now, they are leading us in their communities now. So there are some things they believe that no, their fathers didn't do it or their forefathers didn't do it. Them doing it will be something like it's not going to help them or something. So how do you change it? That's very difficult, right? But there are some things you need to change. That's about trying to how you talk to them and how you present the issue to them. What are you trying to solve? Who are you? What have you done before? So if you get to someone and then try to explain all these things to the person will see who you are. The person will understand that you are not someone who is just coming to change their norms, but you are trying to help them maybe change for a better living. So with this, I think that's what NORSAC and PTY has done through most of their initiatives, that they go to the community, they let the community members also understand. And whatever they are doing as an organization, they try to get people in the community that will own it.
Yeah.
The community will feel like we own it. It's an ownership of the community. So the leaders will see that our children are doing it. I think that's what she mentioned, that they had to train about 40 in each community to have them in the community and train them, try to build their capacity. So if you have a community, you want to engage the leaders, you need to let the leaders know that whatever you are doing is for you. So your members are leading it. So that's why I think one great thing they use is just to bring forth the community members to be the leaders. So the community will feel like we own it, and we are trying to bring it up. So I think that's more how to say for it. Maybe
You've spoken a bit also, just to add up, about Accra being more of a policy implementation or maybe partnerships on policies. Let's look at how some of even the civil society organizations and partnerships and the policies that you've been trying to amplify, how has it been so far on PTY?
Thank you, Martha. But before I answer that, I would like to add to the community level, the traditional leaders, because it looks like it is more of the heart of the program. I think the program is operating on two main principles: meaningful and inclusive youth participation and engagement. That is why you see young people leading implementation, leading monitoring and evaluation, and the other advocacies. Then on gender transformative approach. And with the gender transformative approach, it preaches that before we address an issue, we need to look at what the root causes are. So when we go into this, when we identify these harmful norms and then we go into the communities, we don't just engage them and say, we want to change your norms, we want to change your values. We try to understand, engage with them. Why were these things practiced even from the beginning? Then you start discussing their forefathers, just like you mentioned, and then we now try to look at how was the society, how was the state of the issues at that time, how is it now? And, we try to just let them see that it is about time some of these harmful norms, are changed. So sometimes we try to just let them see it from a different perspective, especially on the harmful practices, the harms some of these norms are doing or are causing in the societies. And then they propose the change themselves and we guide them to do it. And I think that is why sustainability have been not so difficult for us on the program because of the ownership you have mentioned. So for instance, just want to give an example. In the Mirigu community, like the first group of the YICS grantees, the Youth Initiative Small Grants, they were working around widowhood rights. And when we went there for monitoring, the community was actually telling us what they were practicing. And when the group came to engage them, how they now saw things from different perspectives, come to talk about their harm from allowing the woman to drink the water they used to bath the husband and all that. And so they decided to change some aspects of it, of that norm, because they say they cannot totally do away with it. And we think that behavioral change takes time. So at least we record the small milestone. If they want to change some few aspects, we allow them. Then we still advocate. And that's what they do. I think another practical example is in Yarikoi in the Sola Tunakaba district. There was issues of contraceptive use, that's family planning. I think the community had never, I think for the past 5 years, not sat for BEC, because by the time the kids gets to JHS2, they get pregnant, they drop off. Most of the guys leave the community, you know, to other places to, you know, source for income and all that. And we went into the community. The community was first resistant about using contraceptive, but they didn't want to agree that the adolescents, the young people were having sex, but they were getting pregnant. And after, you know, dialogues with the community, in fact, the community told us that they have agreed that the young girls, the young people are now having sex. So what do we do to, you know, keep that issue of pregnancy, the fact that their community, no students have been able to even sit for BEC exams and all that. And so we started talking about contraceptive use. They told us to support them because the nearest health, you know, licenses over the counter, I mean the drugstore where they could even access contraceptive, it's just like 30 minutes walk, not even walk, 30 minutes ride from the community. So we had to work with the district health of the Sola Tunakaba district through the YIGS, one of the YIGS grantees, Sola Model Girls, to actually bring the services to the communities. And for the first time this year, the community have registered for BEC because teenage pregnancy, I think since 2024, they haven't recorded teenage pregnancy. We are not only attributing the BEC to the program, but we are just highlighting the contribution towards that true family plan. So sometimes from the beginning, like Sham mentioned, some of the traditional leaders would resist at first. But sometimes we want to make them see the reason behind the advocacy, and they themselves invite us to do that. Now, come to your question. I think I was focusing so much on, on the traditional leaders. When it comes to the policy, I think what we have done is to work with some of the government institutions and the groups, like the Ministry of Gender. So you see Power to UDC NORSAC participating in most of their meetings, especially when it comes to reviews of frameworks that has to do with child marriage and the other issues, SGBVs, and the other issues that has to do with the program. Then you see us participating in these policies, giving them visible examples of how our strategies have worked and what could work for them. And you see the revisions going on. And I also mentioned that we're part of the SDGs platform, because we realize that there's power in numbers. So if we align with these platforms where they already have the numbers, then it makes advocacy, you know, much easier. And I think one of the results that we mentioned, the sanitary pad, if it was NORSAC alone coming to campaign, maybe we wouldn't have gotten the attention of the speaker. But with the collaborative effort, we're able to get the speaker to come and speak with our collaboration with the SDG platforms and others.
So much work has gone in and so much impact would be seen. I think that for some of us that see what they do or have also worked with them even beyond YESC, we have seen the impact, and it's just in the mouths of almost every young person out there. NORSAC, PTY, Power to Youth. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. It's still the Reflection Show with me, Martha Inspires. Today, we are having a conversation with NORSAC, who are the lead partner or implementing partner of the Power to Youth program. So we have NORSAC, we have Songtaba, and the Ghana SRHR Alliance for Young People implementing the Power to Youth program. It's a 5-year program that is unfortunately, you know, coming to an end this year in 2025. So if you just joined in the conversation, the Power to Youth program has been helping to amplify the voices of a lot of young people, especially in the area of sexual and reproductive health in 40 communities, 10 districts.
Five regions.
5 regions. Hey, wow, great things happening. Let's just quickly look at how has the program structures changed the way youth engage with local assemblies and duty bearers? Sham.
Yes, I think this is one thing I'm much particular about because I'm actually the youth presiding member for the youth assembly, and that's where this question is heading us. Yes, so the youth assembly works in two districts. That's Tamale Metro and also the Myong district. So with this, earlier on there was we didn't personally, and those I worked with in the youth assembly, we didn't know that if the assembly is having their annual quarterly meetings or annual meetings, you can go as a youth to observe.
Okay.
It's something which is there, it's in the constitution, it's accepted, but it's not known to the youth, and they don't even know how to get to observe. So it was just before we started a youth assembly, we got the chance through NOSAC to go and observe for the first time. So we lobbied, we got our way inside, and we observed how it happened. But fast forward after youth assembly, because of what PTY has created between the assembly and also the youth assembly, yes. So it has given us that leverage that anytime they have meetings, sometimes they extend invitation to the youth assembly to come and observe what they are doing. So even in the Myong, they recently had one, and they were invited to observe. So they observe. So the change here is first, the first time we actually just lobbied, we found our way to get inside, but now they are coming to us just because, not because we just want to observe, but because they look at it like they are a particular youth group which is trying to mimic what they do, which is unusual. Yes, before this, I've never seen something like a youth trying to. We've seen youth parliaments where we try to mimic the national parliament, but for youth assembly, we've not seen it before. So they see to it that this youth, what they are doing is something new, and they have something to offer. That's why they came out to doing this. So they always invite us to their house to see the businesses they do, and also possibly we are hoping that at some time to come we'll have some quota, in a sense that we'll also have a say in whatever decision they are making in just their sittings. So for now, we go there as observers, so subsequently, and that's a great change, because something you were yearning for, you were trying to get into, but not getting the chance. Now they extend the invitation to you to come and observe, just because they look at you to be they are younger people who are trying to mimic and also tell people about what you are doing at the assembly. So I think that's how PTY has helped them, the youth, to go closer, to get closer to the local assembly, and it's helping a lot. Yes.
Okay. You want to add something to that?
Yes, I think Sham have spoken a lot, but it was more on the youth assembly. And I just wanted to add that I think one thing we also did before we roll out the youth assembly concept was a youth-led research, where we wanted to understand whether young people are being included in decision-making platforms, especially at the district assembly. And we had to engage all the actors involved, the young people, the assembly, and even the other CSOs who are also working in that same area. And interestingly, like Sham mentioned, the young people told us they are not even aware they are supposed to be part of these meetings. Aside the information, one other challenge was capacity. One other barrier was resources to participate. We engaged the assembly, to understand their perspective. And interestingly, again, the assembly mentioned that what do we mean by inclusion of young people? Because most of the assembly members are young people. That's one. Most of the staff of some of the staff of the assembly are also young people. So if they have these people working, it means that young people are working. And we all know that some of these assembly members are also politically inclined. Yes. And so they push their political agendas rather than, the issues of young people themselves. And so we had interesting conversations with them. We tried to also understand their challenges. And one of the challenges was the inadequate understanding of meaningful and inclusive youth participation and engagement. How can they effectively engage young people in these structures? And then another two was resources, among other things. So we developed prototypes with them. So how can we co-create a solution? So with the young people, with the assembly, that's when we came up with the youth assembly structure. And I think one thing that brought about the ownership was the fact that they were part of the process from the beginning. They highlight their challenges, they propose solutions, we tested solutions with them, and then we came up with the concept. And unlike the Tamale Metro Youth Assembly, the Myong Assembly, they have even moved from just participating to even contributing. I think in one of our monitorings, it was highlighted that during the town and area council meetings of the Myang Assembly, the youth assembly was invited. And then when they came, they tabled the issues of young people within that community, not even young people, the issues they think the community is facing. And then I think one of the things was on sanitation, though sanitation is not a PTY key issue. And the assembly I think within 2 or 3 weeks, actually acted on it. One reason why we are highlighting it, even though sanitation is not a direct key area, is the fact that the concerns of the young people were actually taken and the assembly acted on it. And I think at end line, when we went back to, just do a final assessment of the youth assembly to actually harvest some outcomes and the impact, we realized that now the young people are not just brought in there as participants. Like, we just want to tick the box that we had young people in there, but they value the contribution of the young people, the contribution the young people are making. And in the Myang Assembly, again, I think it is interesting to mention that the assembly, the finance committee of the Myang Assembly have actually adopted the finance committee of the Youth Assembly to support them in revenue mobilization. And the conversation is that once they support them, parts or a percentage of the funds will also be given to the young people to run the youth assembly. They have even opened a folder for the youth assembly in the assembly, so that in the case of transitioning, any government member who comes in would have the folder, and we will know that, oh, we are working with these young people in the assembly. And I think for the youth assembly, that's one of the things I can highlight. I think at the community level too, when we, empower these young people to take up community-led advocacy, and in the Mirugu community, that's in the Kasina Nankana district, we had the community traditional area council with the young people coming up with bylaws at the community level, to protect the rights of adolescent girls against the PTY key issues, SGBVs, and harmful practices. And beyond that, they have even institutionalized a youth queen mother. So beyond just bringing the young people as and when they have meetings to participate, they now have a youth queen mother as part of their traditional structure. And what that means is that as and when the young person outgrows the youth age, they bring in another young person to represent the voices of the young people in the traditional council. And for me, I think these are all, impacts that we should be celebrating. And this is how the program has, actually changed how young people are seen, not just at the community level, but even with state actors like the Youth Assembly that we can highlight.
Okay. Now let's delve into stories, experiences, good ones. I watched a little bit of your podcast and I heard Romana talking about how some of the young people, some of the men, when they go into the community and they even talk about, can you hug your wife and those things. Just tell us some of the experiences you have had or seen over the past years, Sham.
So for me, one experience I've had was I think one is about activists, working with activists in the Myong. Because that was when I was able to get to the community, to work in the community as part of the PTY. So when we went there, there was a particular group of men who we tried to talk to about, because we wanted people to come together, men to come together and be champions. So that even when activista or PTY is not there, then there are people who represent PTY activists there as champions to take on that initiative. So in trying to get them, so they were very resistant because they were thinking that this kind of thing, we should have gotten ladies for it because it's actually for ladies. Like the ladies should be able to fight. And the thing is, we wanted only men. The community was only men. So they were having that question, now why only men? Because we are not even affected. So first they were trying to say that no, we are not saying people should practice that, but we can't be champions because there are ladies we know in this community who can champion that. So, but actually, eventually they got to understand that yes, it's our sisters who are affected, and we are the people who can speak because our traditional norm has made it in a way that the men has, no matter how you do, the men will always have a little above in terms of a voice hearing. So we spoke to them, they understood that. So it was very challenging for us to get, for someone to understand, especially because we wanted youth and also the aged, some of the aged to be, we didn't want it to be like all the champions to be the youth, but we wanted some of the aged, people who can also go into the chieftaincy and also talk to add to the voice of the youth. So especially them, it was very difficult getting them but eventually they got to understand and came together to form this, this group. Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at, have you had some parents sharing some experiences on maybe how their lives of, I like what you mentioned about the teenage pregnancy thing. They coming to now accept that, you know, the people are doing what we don't want them to do, you know, but now, you know, give us the help. Have some parents surrounded or community surrounded and demanded for the help from PTY, and how has it been?
Yes, so I think one example is, well, so with the role I play, I interact more with the beneficiaries, you know, just trying to access how the program has really, you know, worked in the communities, what has changed, how did the change happen, what caused the change and all that. So in one of our engagements, I think in the Charpuni district, the youth group we went to monitor, we're actually working around exchange marriages because that is the issue that was prevalent in that issue. And exchange marriage is one of the harmful practices we are looking at. And maybe just to give a brief background there. So the practice is that if a young man wants to marry into a family, he would have to have a sister that he is prepared to exchange for the lady he wants to marry.
Barter trade.
Yes. And the worst part is that when the exchange is done, and then the young man, so let's say Kofi wants to marry from my family, wants to marry me, then Kofi should have a sister to exchange for me.
So that your brother will marry Kofi's
my brother
sister.
or my uncle, anybody from the family would marry Kofi's sister. And so let's say that it comes to a time that I have issues with Kofi and I'm divorcing. It means that Kofi will take back his sister, even if they don't have an issue. Yes, he will take back his sister.
So because you and Kofi are divorcing, Kofi and your brother has to also divorce.
They have to go. And another thing is that if Kofi doesn't have a sister, they can still lend me to Kofi. And when Kofi gives birth to a daughter, or maybe Kofi's brother gives birth to a daughter, or somebody within their family gives birth to a daughter, then they will use the daughter to pay back to their family. So
in Ghana here?
In Charpone district, I don't want to mention the community. So it happens that during one of our engagements, a woman stood up. You could have seen the pain. She said, you know, our community, she said she wanted to be a nurse. And there was a day she went to school, I think around primary 6. She came home and they said they were using her to pay a debt. And then they had to take her off school to marry.
So like my brothers by now would have used me.
Yeah, so they were using her to pay a debt of somebody she wasn't even close to, not even a brother. So they had to take her off school to marry. And then she mentioned that as at the time we went there, the women were the ones running the home because they were the ones farming and providing for the house. And she has a daughter whom she said she would not allow to be exchanged. So the woman was now acting as a community champion in that community because of her experiences. And when she was saying it, you could have felt the pain, like recounting what she wanted to do with her life. And then now, just because she had to pay a debt of a family brother who married from a different family. And for me, I think sometimes when they have this, it is very, some people would say that, oh, I also went through that, so you can also survive that. But to see other women saying that, no, because I went through that, I don't want my daughter to go through that. For me, is one thing that actually, you know, stood out for me, and that gave me that level of respect. In the same district, we went to another community where this one was a chief. He told us point blank that he was against child marriage. In fact, he was the one pushing his daughters to go to school because he was a chief. He wanted to serve as an example for the community to see. And then one of his children, having gotten to the senior high school level, got pregnant. And the person who impregnated her didn't accept the pregnancy and ran off. And the man felt so angry that he came back, and all the girls who were in school, he removed them from school. Yes, he removed them from school because of the pain the other girl caused.
So the girl is in school?
She went to senior high school. She got pregnant. She didn't even come home. That it got to a time they vacated, she never came home. So he did follow up and realized that the girl wasn't even in school most of the semester because she got pregnant and she dropped out. So that pain alone. And when they brought her home, who impregnated you? Finally, when she pointed out, the person said he wasn't responsible and he even ran away from the community.
So it affected other innocent girls.
The younger ones that were growing up. And so it took us a lot of, in fact, we spent more time in that community as planned because we needed to have these conversations. It got to a time we're even using ourselves as example. You know, I have also gone to school. This is what I do now. Do you think, you know, and giving examples of some of the young people we have also personally motivated. And we're just telling him that the mistake of one person shouldn't affect the other ones. And I think at the end of the conversation, he was convinced. We actually linked him up with the social welfare officer in Charponi, who is also our PTY focal person, to, you know, work around the guy accepting the pregnancy. And then I think the last time we went there, the other girls had the opportunity. I know he sent them back to school again and they were going through school again. So I think there are interesting experiences, especially for families. And I remember, I think one of our last month training in May, we're having a conversation with the Mirugu traditional area. We're validating some outcomes, one of the bylaws I mentioned. And there was this only one young person, because it was school hours, so they brought only one young person. And the way the ladies stood up to talk about the sanitary pad issue, she was saying that, yes, those sanitary pads can, you know, they are expensive. But the parents, it is the responsibility of the parents to also provide for them so that they don't have to look elsewhere. We are blaming teenage pregnancy on just high rates of sanitary pads, but we are neglecting the parental failures. And her parents were there. And her mother was smiling that her daughter could, you know, stand in front of traditional council to actually speak out. And I think after the engagement, the woman was actually a teacher in the community school. And I realized the influence parents have on their children, you know, when the parents gives that child that power at the household level to actually speak out. When she gets a bigger platform at the community level, she's able to speak out and advocate. So these are few experiences.
So we have just 5 minutes more. I just want us to add up to our final words and also talk about how to sustain PTY. What can we as young people do, and also the community? Sham.
Yeah, so what we can do is, as part of a youth who have benefited from PTY, what I want to do to sustain this and my youth group is try to extend my knowledge, try to also, sit people down, my youth, and transfer my knowledge to them, as in what's the opportunities I've gotten through PTY and also the capacities I've gotten. So with this, if many of the youths are empowered in this way, you can see that, because we are a lot of youth in Northern Region. Let me just say Northern
So
region.
many young people.
So many young people. So the people PTY has able to got into should be able to transfer that to the others, so that it won't be like just a few, and then the impact will then be felt, that especially after the program. So I think that we, the youth who have been gotten the opportunity to be empowered by PTY, we should try to transfer our knowledge. So when there is knowledge transfer, you can see that the program will be sustained beyond its closure. So I think that's one thing personally I want to do to sustain what I'm doing, yes.
Okay. Lima.
Yeah, so for me, I think maybe basically from the beginning, what the program did was, aside the initial community entry program introduction, the program has been working with the community, people from the community as champions. So we have like the legal literacy volunteers at the community level, who the program have been working with for the past years. And the idea is just that once we exit, these young people are still in the community. They are still able to engage. They are still able to work. And we've also established some partnership for these young people and state actors, like the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, so that even beyond the program, these young people can still connect, and their district assemblies are still able to connect. And that is how, and the bylaws we're talking about, once these ones are documented, they stay in the community. So these are how we have actually planned sustainability, and then also training youth champions in the communities, to continue advocacy. Then the young people I mentioned, that we have built their capacities. we know that sometimes one of the major challenges is resources. So what we did was we didn't just give them resources, we gave them capacity to also explore other donor options to get resources to continue implementing. And what we can say, I think it was some of the outcomes we documented. We've already seen these young people already exploring funds. I think one of them even won the She Leads grants to implement in their communities. And this is how we have equipped these young people, not just to leave them as we saw them when we went there, but, you know, make their structures better to work with. Me, as a young person, I was selected from a youth group, actually. And the plan is that once you are selected from the youth group, the impact is supposed to translate, go down in there. And what we are also doing is that we are also grooming other young people in planning, monitoring, and evaluation. Because I believe that advocacy, you know, good advocacy is based on evidence. Once you have the evidence, because the issues are there, but are we documenting them to bring them in evidence? So evidence-based advocacy, and that is what we are currently doing. If Sham will remember, we explored some male, I was asking for young people who are interested in M&E to personally train, and that's something I'm currently doing, so that in their own groups, they're able to, you know, influence that change on evidence-based advocacy.
Okay, the Power to Youth program. I pray that if not Power to Youth comes again, something bigger than Power to Youth comes, so that at least we can we can have a way of also equally sustaining some of the activities that we are doing, and the young people also taking up more opportunities from other programs to grow their potential. So PTY is great. PTY has made so much impact, and it's so sad that it's coming to an end. But I know that the impact is not going to end. The impact is not just coming to one end, because the impact has been seeds that have been planted in the lives of many of these young people. So it's been great bringing you this episode on the Power to Youth program. I've been speaking with Sham and Halima, all from NORSAC, the leading implementing partner for the Power to Youth program. They have been implementing together with Songtaba and the Ghana SRHR Alliance for Young People. It's been great bringing you this episode. I am Martha Spice. See you next week. Hello there, and welcome to Thoughts from Martha Spice. Today, I want to talk to you about what I have captioned, Learn to Say No. Most of us are very good people with very good hearts. Anytime people ask us for favors, we are in a hurry and quick to give. Financial favors, whatever favors. We are always the givers. And when we are in need, it's difficult for us to get help. But you know what? Learn to say no. Learn to sometimes tell people no. From the beginning, you'll be seen as a bad person or whatever. But it is something that will go a long way to help you understand yourself and become a better person. Because most times you have needs, you have bills to pay. Somebody calls you, oh, borrow me this amount, or even lend me, or even dash me this amount, and you are given. They cook a very nice story that is even, not even up to how yours is. But because of how emotional you are, some people have studied you and they know how you are. So they tend to blackmail you emotionally. But today, learn to say no. Learn to tell people no sometimes, because you also need to be a better person. You need to make yourself happy, and you need not to inconvenience yourself for people so much again, because most times you are sacrificing yourself to make them comfortable, and not all of them even appreciate it. Even as you even give them the little that you have, they still think that you can do more. So learn to say no. Do not inconvenience yourself a lot of times. Thank you for watching this episode on Thoughts from Martha Spice. I believe that from now onwards, you will learn to say no to make yourself happy. Thank you, and see you next time.